Am I just going to go, Mike? Or? Obviously an emotional, hard-fought game the other night in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. And, I think anytime you play an emotional game, it's important to kind of refocus and get ready for the next game, which is obviously, Northern Kentucky, a very, very, very experienced team. A lot of returners that have won a lot of games while playing there.
Kind of glad to have all that time in between because it was such an emotional game to have a Monday through Saturday gap.
Yeah, obviously we have a segment coming up the last 3 weeks of December where we only play one game a week. So this is a little obviously shorter than that, but it's certainly a little bit longer than a Tuesday or Wednesday, Saturday for sure. So, I think that the extra day or two allows us to kind of regroup, and we didn't do anything yesterday on the floor, and we'll get back at it today. But I think anytime around holidays, Chuck Daly always used to say it's a lot of weird stuff happens. Day or two before Christmas, day or two before Thanksgiving, guys, you got to try to make sure your team's focused for sure around these times because other students are going home and your student athletes are on campus, so there's a lot of stuff that you got to worry about, just the focus overall.
Against Georgia Tech the other night, you didn't call a timeout at the end, just let your guys play through. Is that an overarching philosophy, or was it a matter of just feeling pretty good about what you had gone over with them beforehand?
Yeah, I'm really trying to see how many timeouts I can save in a lifespan. I've got a lot of equity built up and a lot of timeouts saved over the course of I'll be able to take with me when I'm done coaching. I haven't always been that way. We were playing Cincinnati, and a lot of people thought we were going to call a timeout late game against Cincinnati, and I let the guys go play out of the flow, and then we got an offensive rebound, and people thought we were going to call a timeout right when one of our guys grabbed an offensive board, and my thought is number one, I want the guys to know that I trust them. Number one, hopefully we've defined roles well enough where guys know who we want shooting the ball at the end of a game. Obviously, we don't want to bank a shot from 35 feet. But having said that, there's a lot of times you watch a game and a team will struggle to inbound the ball, or a pass will get deflected, or the opposing team will have a timeout and they're able to make an adjustment, and they might have played 10 straight possessions of man-to-man, and then they go zone. We knew what defense we were going to see in the flow of the game. They weren't going to change. They didn't have enough time to do anything. So having said that, it kind of depends on the situation. Obviously, I think there are times if you feel like your team's just completely discombobulated, or you feel like they don't understand their roles, or you feel like some player is going to take ill-advised shots at the wrong time. But, Isaiah had the ball, and he felt an extra defender, and he passed it to another really good player who obviously feels comfortable taking a shot at the end of the game. So you're going to have player reads regardless of what you do with the timeout.
Next question. He had his back to the basket, and I think there were about 3.5, 4 seconds left. Did you consider taking a timeout in that scenario before
Which
Mason?
situation?
At the end of the game, when Joe had his back to the basket, did you consider taking a timeout before Mason came over and took the ball from him?
No, not really. Again, it started in when I coached my son's AAU basketball. First, we had a dad that wanted me to coach a group of sixth graders. I told him no about 150 times. Finally, I said yes. In the first game, we get ready to play, and the guy walks off. And I said, "Yo, Dean, you're going to sit next to me because you wanted me to put this, you wanted me to coach this team, and you're going to be an assistant for me and sit here until." Very first time there was a tie ball, he stands up and yells timeout. And I grab him, tackle him, tell him to sit down, and I said, "Hey, we only got 1 hour between games in AAU basketball. Do not ever call a timeout because we only got like 45 minutes to go get a sandwich somewhere and get back for the next game. So that's where my lack of using timeouts came from.
Which son was that you were coaching?
Michael.
Okay, and that was when you were taking
That's
your break between you were doing the TV radio stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a true story.
Yeah.
That's actually when
Did
I
you really
started saving timeouts.
You actually tackled him?
Yeah, Dean Salinas. You can give him a call. He's
Okay.
got a million stories for me.
Well, Matt was asking you, late game, but yeah, you haven't called a timeout yet. I mean, you haven't.
Yeah, Desi broke the streak.
In 6 games, I mean, do you ever remember being 6 games deep into a season without calling a timeout?
Oh, yeah. Like last year and probably the year before.
Because I remember when
if you go look, there's been stuff put out there about the lack of timeouts over the last 4 years.
South Dakota, they cut 19.
I mean, Bob, the real truth is, like, when you're watching a game, right?
Well, no, I appreciate it. It makes the games go faster.
Right. When you watch a game, the worst thing you want is a million timeouts. And, again, I just go back to guys that I'm working with. And, I mean, Chuck Daly used to hate timeouts. I do think there's time and place, but I do think a lot of times they're overused. And having coached against Phil Jackson, I kind of, always marveled at the fact that his teams figured things out. And, sometimes teams will go on. I see so many nights where teams are out of timeouts too. And we're never going to be out of timeouts down the stretch. Like that's the one thing that I know for sure, that we will never use all of our timeouts, where if you do need something, we'll always have some, we'll always have some extra timeout for sure.
Like South Dakota the other night, cut it from 19-10 and everything. I think Eric's going to call timeout here, settle them down, but you didn't, and obviously you guys went on a run. And the other night, I think you had a 7-point lead, and Tech was coming back. I thought, Eric's going to call timeout. But so you just feel like, hey, those guys need to learn how to weather those storms. Is that kind of the thought process?
Yeah, or I feel like we practiced a lot of situations for the last 6-7 months, and it's up to our staff to make the right play call, I feel like we have some quick hitters that are a little bit different options that we don't utilize during the flow of the game. I don't really want to bring out the play calls of what those are, but we do have specific plays that we don't run over and over and over to get a guy a good look, and I don't feel like we need a timeout to do that.
Coach, this is a bit off topic, but with Thanksgiving coming up, our viewers are curious what you're thankful for this year.
Well, the first thing is the reason that we're having this thing at 11 instead of, 2 or whatever, so that all you guys could go back with your family. You guys have more time today leading into the holidays. So, but what I'm thankful for is my family, beautiful wife, daughter, 2 sons, health, and then the 15 players in our locker room to be able to coach those guys. That's what I'm thankful for.
As far as Northern Kentucky, just kind of what's their personnel look like?
They'll play a unique zone defense. They're a high steal team. They're a high volume, take a 3-point shot team, so our 3-point defense is going to be very, very important. Although they take a lot of threes, they do like to try to get, in the paint, meaning paint touches some way. And they got experience. They got seniors that have played in big games. And they got a good record, and it's a good basketball team. Yes. Oh no, he'll probably like it. Yeah, Dean would love it.
In the first 7 games, this is the 4th against an opponent that's probably favored to win their league, or if not, pretty close to it. Did you think about, at this point in the season, piling resume wins, or is it just kind of take it day by day?
No, I mean, I think we want to just worry about winning the game, but obviously, like when you play teams like South Dakota, I mean, we're hoping they go and and win their league, and hopefully Montana can go win the Big Sky and South Dakota wins the Summit, and so on and so forth. You want these teams that you play to do really, really well. But I think like right now it's so early. There's so many, look, we're going to be in a lot of close games this year. Like we know the reality of everything. We've gotten off to a really, really good start. Up to this point, we've shown great maturity of really understanding and respecting our opponents. Again, a lot of crazy stuff happens every night in college basketball. Another huge upset last night. And so the thing is, let's just worry about how do we beat, Northern Kentucky, understanding their strengths and their weaknesses and what our game plan going into Saturday afternoon's game is.
I know you said, I think it was Texas Southern, but it was a couple games ago. You sat him down for the last 13-something. I remember you said you thought he needed better focus, and you talked to him. Yeah, how do you think he's responded to that? And did you see video of him? He hit the game-winning shot at LSU last year and hit a free throw with like 2 seconds left, and then missed one like he was supposed to run the clock out against Indiana. What do you think about his ability to make clutch plays?
I think he likes it, Bob. I think he some guys rise to the occasion. Some guys shy away from it. I think Mason, wants to take big shots. He didn't do what he was supposed to after he made the shot. After he made the shot, we've worked on it. I can't even tell you how many times in practice. Prevent, we call it, like our prevent defense. Like as soon as you score in a late game situation, you automatically got to get in a defensive stance. You got to find the opponent because there was still time on the clock. And Josh didn't immediately call a timeout. There was like a slight delay, and then they called it, obviously before they inbounded the ball. But and we've shown our team clips of other teams, and we showed them, when we hit the shot against Cincinnati for, to get to the suite, we showed them how our guys reacted immediately and got in a defensive stance and found matchups, and we did not do that the other night, which is good because it didn't cost us, but it's a learning experience of, hey, when you make a shot and there's time on the clock, man, you got to react immediately, and you can't run down to the other end and celebrate. There's still time left. So that was one of the things that we've talked to Mason about.
How do you think he responded to your all's, to him? You taking him out for a while and then talking to him about it?
I think that when you coach players, it like your relationship matters. And Mason and I communicate all the time, whether it's text or a phone call. And he's I mean, at least to me, I don't know what he said before I walked in here, but to me, he's all bought in. And I think you can coach a guy harder, or you can be more real with him, the realer your relationship is. And so, I mean, he knows I want him to be successful. They all know it, but, some guys you just have a stronger bond and stronger relationship with, and he and I have a really strong relationship, and therefore I think I can kind of coach him as, to try to squeeze every ounce of his God-given ability.
Coach, did you anticipate having this strong of an defensive identity, and do you feel like that's something you can market towards recruits, and have you already started doing that? Have you heard positive feedback about it?
I don't know, Nikki, if I actually thought that. No, we probably didn't think we could be this good defensively this quickly, but they bought in. Obviously, Jimmy Witt's really helped defensively. I mean, he made 2 incredible block shots against a really good player for Georgia Tech. And you look at the stars of teams that we've played thus far. We've done a really good job of the opposing team's star. Isaiah is a phenomenal defender, a really underrated defender. Adrio's done an incredible job defensively with his lack of size and his ability to front and knock loose balls and create steals. And Desi's really taken the challenge of guarding maybe some guys that have a few inches on him every night. And certainly I think any time that you can create some type of an identity, it helps in recruiting, no matter what that identity is. And we want to play faster, and we want to score more, and we want to be able to shoot threes at a higher rate and make them at a higher rate than we have. But hopefully that'll come with time.
Do you know Darren Horn at all?
A little bit.
Like, how do you guys know each other? Just what do you think of Darren?
He's a good coach.
Okay. And, on the flip side, you talk about how you tell your guys, hey, Evansville beat Kentucky and Hofstra beat UCLA and Stephen F. Austin beat Duke. Do you think that helps inspire teams like Northern Kentucky? I mean, they're obviously good. They won 26 games last year, and they got some guys back. But what do you think that does for the mid-majors in terms of, kind of the equalizer?
Yeah, I think that certainly it gives any team playing a road game a lot of, it certainly helps. And I also think it helps our team because, like, as soon as I leave you guys, I'm going to talk about last night's games and people not being ready, or when you mess around with the basketball gods, what can happen. Like, you got to play for 40 minutes to win a game. And people just don't know how it's like hard to win a game because two teams are coming in with excitement and two teams are battling and teams get hot, and you got to be able to win games when you're not shooting well. And that's what we did at Tech. We shot the ball horrible, and we still found a way to win. And so right now we're not going to hang our hat on defensive rebounding because that's not who we have to try to defend at a high level to win every single night. And so
you and Dean Salinas, are you guys still buddies? Do you talk?
yeah, we're friends.
And where was this you were coaching?
It was after the Kings, and
Or do you remember the year and what was your team called?
it was called NorCal Select, and then we branched out, and then it became M33M, and then we went from one team to two teams because so many kids wanted to play. It was really unique. We started out we practiced, every practice was on an outdoor court in the Bay Area, and it kind of ended. We went, I'm going to give you his number, Bob. But we went like 65-0, and we lost to a team called the Sacramento Yellow Jackets, and that was it. We lost that game. Buzzer went off. I told Dean we're done. The night before that game, my wife went downstairs, and we had like 15 kids sleeping on our floor because we had an early morning drive to Sacramento, and it was fun, though. It was great to coach my son.
But when you did that, it was sixth grade.
Sixth or seventh grade.
Was it Davis, California, or where was
No, that was it was in East Bay.
East Bay.
East Bay, California, like
Bay,
Oakland,
California.
Danville area.
Okay, yeah, okay. You guys are.